Sound is speeding for the hybrid mana situation. It's crazy, thumbnail face. What the hell? Hello everybody, my name is MTG Ratgirl and I scroll through Magic databases for hours and hours and hours so that you don't have to. Today I'm back at it again to take you through the latest kind of confusing change in my favorite card game. For anybody who missed it last month, Wizards of the Coast announced some changes to the Commander format rules. Now, in addition to legendary vehicles and spacecraft being available as commanders, the rules for hybrid mana and color identity in the format are slightly changing. Yeah, color identity change in the color identity format. Great job. What is hybrid mana? If you haven't been playing for very long, hybrid mana symbols look exactly like what they sound like. There is a mana symbol that is cut in half with a different color on each end of the slash. They have always been great for draft and constructed play because the pip can be either color while you're casting it, so just like modal cards, it allows for one card to have a bit more flexibility, effectively doubling the places that it can be included while you're deck building. But this hasn't been the case so far for Commander. Because of the color identity rules specific to Commander and Highlander formats, cards printed with hybrid mana have had their color identities include both colors. For example, one of the more popular elf decks in the formats, Rhys the Redeemed, can only be included in the 99 of decks which include both white and green in your command zone. If you run Rhys himself in the command zone, you also get the option of running both green and white cards in the 99 of your list. And that's how it has worked since Commander has been a thing. So, color identity restricts where you can play hybrid mana colors more than in constructed formats, but on the other hand, it also expands what you can do with a hybrid mana card in your command zone. One of these facts is staying the same, and the other is changing. Can you guess which one is being shaken up? That's right, the color identity limitation is being lifted. How will it affect Commander gameplay? So this seems like an innocuous change to the deck building in Commander, especially while you're picking the card that is going to be in your command zone. If you want to, you can already build a hybrid Commander creature as a monocolor deck, that part of the game staying exactly the same. But, for example, if you want to run Sig River Cutthroat in the 99 of your list, you just have to have a Commander with black or blue in its identity, not both. This new ruling also has some interesting implications when playing the companions for Mycoria, which all have hybrid mana costs, except for Jengatha. You're still 5 colors, stay over there, big scary deer. Now, as long as you meet the other deck building restrictions specific to the card, you can have Lurrus of the Dream Den as your companion in a mono-white Weenies deck, or some kind of funny low-mana Reanimator list, like Shirai. You could also now build Krark Sakushima with Gyruda as your companion, since she just counts as a mono-blue creature in that deck. So because I really am a fan of the Lorwyn block, and I'm excited about digging up old cards and finding new uses for them, this new flexibility was a fun exercise for me to just comb through all of them. I spent so long going through Scryfall, looking at every single one of those mana:*hybrid mana tags. Most of this video is going to be me going through the existing hybrid mana cards that are going to find a lot more flexibility in Commander lists after this rule change goes through. I tried to pick out only the usable ones that feel relevant to the format, so get out a bucket of popcorn or get out your notepad and pencil, and let's see if we can get you some fancy new tools for all of your Commander decks. First, we're going to go through the hybrid Dimir colors. Cemetery Puka. One more clone effect for blue decks and CEDH lists is kind of a big deal, honestly. I would look at doing this if you run CEDH blue. Could be really fun. Dream Salvage. Izzet discard has been coming up recently, and now you have one more 1-mana card draw effect to refill your hand for it. Sig River Cutthroat. Now with these rule changes, you can include one more staple mermaid into your mono blue or Simic Merfolk decks from Ixalan, More card draw is always a welcome addition, I'm sure. He could also easily slot into any aristocrats or pingers decks in like Rakdos colors. How does another card per turn sound to you, Valgavoth player? Toulouse, Clever Conductor. This is maybe not needed in your Grixis Kefka deck, but now you can include her if you want. It's probably worth running in any Grixis deck that is running a bunch of wheels, however, so you can kind of have like a knockoff version of Notion Thief as another slot in your deck if you want to. Evelyn, the Covetous. This feels like a great pick for any kind of vampire deck. Most of the good ones are Rakdos or Mardu, so now you have another card advantage engine in the 99 of these lists. Golgari cards. Vraska Swarm's Eminence. Do you play Finn the Fangbearer? Now this card is an auto-include in your list. No questions about it. Just really good Death Touch synergy that didn't really have a home before this. Worm Harvest. Lots of Dimir Mill decks could use a few ways to build up a board, and this is a great one. 5 mana for something that puts 10 to 20 power on the table is always great to finish out in the late game. I am personally a huge fan of this card anyway, so I'm very excited to see it played in other black decks. Fiend Artisan. Okay, this card is going to go nuts in any kind of black reanimator build, no matter what else you're up to. Something that acts as a sack outlet and a tutor at the same time has been like the big reason to play Golgari in the past in this strategy, and now every black or green deck will be able to assemble combos by tutoring repeatedly from their deck directly onto the battlefield. Speaking of reanimators, Hogak, Arisen Necropolis. That's right, the GAC is back, baby! Everybody give it up, come on! You know that a ton of black decks were already looking for ways to get a free 8/8 onto the field. This is a big body with evasion that serves as its own reanimate spell. This is such a great thing to discard or mill yourself into at any point during the game. I'm sure it can find its way into a lot of other graveyard decks now. Simic. Okay, there actually aren't a lot of exciting options for hybrid Simic cards, which makes me sad. I don't think this rule change will, do much for Simic. I guess Kiora Behemoth Beckoner can now go in your Gruul Stompy decks. We like Garruk's Uprising, right? Don't you want another one of those? Gruul. Jenny! Jenny can now be in the 99 of your Boros tokens decks. Let's turn all of those goblins or humans into bigger and less vanilla boring creatures. You could also play this in a Gruul goblins deck, maybe, if that's a thing. She has green in all of her color pips, so tragically mono red goblins will have to survive without her. Wart, the Raid Mother. Oh right, this is the Gruul goblins deck. If you don't want to run Auntie as a commander with Jenny Faye in the 99, you can instead pop her into your already existing mono red goblins deck. I know you have one. Everyone does. Come on, you know you want to build it. It's really fun. Doubling all of those goblin spells in your Krenko deck is definitely worth the slot. Now, Vexing Shusher. This should definitely make it into way more decks now that it isn't restricted to Gruul. Dodging counterspells is great for all kinds of stompy Rakdos or Selesnya decks that don't have access to that kind of a thing usually. This is just red or green silence now. It's twice as good. So hopefully you'll be seeing it outside of tournament play now. Samut, Tyrant Smasher. Have you heard of Aki Drillmaster? Have you heard of Concordant Crossroads? Have another one. Green decks will be really stoked to have this as an option since most of the reason they can't keep up with blue decks is because of the inability to win without haste. So many really good green combos put a bunch of power on the field and then wait to get wiped during the next cycle. And this is sure to prevent a lot of those situations from happening at your table. Rakdos. Okay, first up is Murderous Redcap. This guy is a fabulous win condition for a bunch of Orzhov Aristocrats decks that can sacrifice him and then put a +1 counter on it as it enters with its persist ability. I bought one of these for an Alesha deck that I put together a few years ago, and now he's playable without having a splash of red in your deck. I'm sure the Teza Karlov and the Carmen Cruel Skymarcher players will be really stoked to have one more good win condition in their list. Agnes, the Dragon's Lash. This card loves it when your creatures have haste, which is something that Alana and Helena give away like it's candy. Minsk and Boo could also make some amazing use of this treasure token generator by getting you some mana every time you swing in with that big hamster. That's the main thing you want to be doing anyway. Boros decks. Boros Reckoner is a classic combo piece in the Legacy format, and it can now be included in your Mono Red or Rakdos decks to instantly burn one player off of the table. This guy and Pariah's Shield are looking pretty good after the rule changes go out. Next up is Blade Historian. There are plenty of Gruul and Selesnya decks that would love to see this guy. 4 pips of the same color is kind of a lot to ask for, but if you play Kyler or Audric in the command zone, you should definitely give it a try. It's a great way to unexpectedly pull off an alpha strike. Master Warcraft, speaking of Audric, is another great option for controlling combat, whether it's on your opponent's turn or your own. My mono white soldiers deck with Myrail Shield of Argive would have loved to have this as an option for closing out the game. Nahiri, Storm of Stone. When you see Nahiri, you think of equipment, and Cloud, Midgar Mercenary, has been killing it as an equipment commander. Being mono white does leave out some of the best pieces for his archetype, so getting to play this version of Zendikar's favorite rockstar is definitely an upgrade for those kinds of decks. Next up, Rise of the Hobgoblins. Hey, Red Goblin players, I'm talking to you again. Listen, hey, look over here. Okay, sorry for the flashing lights. I know that red mages all have ADHD, so I thought I'd just help you out. This enchantment doubles as a copy of Goblin Offensive. Giving all of your little guys first strike will also make sure that you don't get out creature tokened by those nasty Selesnya decks. Waves of Aggression. Boros decks sure do love extra combat, but decks like Karazakar the Eye Tyrant do too. Any Rakdos Vampire deck or Knight typo strategies could easily turn this card into a win as well. Selesnya. Rigo, Streetwise Mentor. So many of these cards are going to be a boon for mono-white go-wide strategies. If you play a bunch of white weenies in your favorite commander deck, then this guy is well worth looking at. Another 3-mana draw engine will be helpful for anybody who's playing Adeline, Resplendent Cathar, or any sort of Heir Apparent deck. Privileged Position. I think Selesnya Enchantress will still be the main candidate for this card, even after the rule change happens. However, if you are like me and you just can't help yourself from trying to puzzle together little creatures that create bad 3-card combos, then you will definitely need this to keep your plan intact at all. Any Simic creature deck or something like the Riders of Rohan Precon from Lord of the Rings will be fortified to near indestructibility with this on the table. Okay, Dryad Militant. The only place I had ever really seen this card played in Commander before was in Rocco Cabaretti Caterer CEDH decks, when that was a thing briefly. Elevere of the Wild Court and similar stacks decks could still probably use it as a way to slow down the game. I still don't think it really has a place at many casual tables, but if you're the kind of person who brews some funky mono green or white competitive lists, you should definitely give it a look. Sundering Growth. Alright, this is obviously not worth including in most of your lists, but it's been a pet card of mine for a long time. It's Populate! Come on! I'm definitely going to be slotting this into my Sultai Super Friends lists and my Urza Prince of the Photocopier list as a removal option. Who doesn't like more creature tokens? More people should play Populate. I know it sucks, but it's fun. Come on. Izzet decks. Saheeli, Sublime Artificer. There are a ton of blue or red artifact decks that would love to make more creature tokens. Getting a body anytime you cast an artifact spell would be pretty great for your Urza Lord High Artificer or Shorikai Genesis engine list. Teach by example. This is a cheap way to copy spells. Most Storm lists that want this card are probably going to be Izzet anyway, but I know I would have loved to have this as an option for my Rowan Scion of War deck before I disassembled it. I'm sure that some of you have a funky blue Storm deck that would appreciate a way to copy spells as a finisher as well. Let me know if you do. Lock Dragon. If you play a red dragons list and really need the card advantage engine, then maybe this is an improvement over some other stuff. I don't know, it feels like the dragon decks that do the most work include blue anyway. They're usually 5-color decks, so maybe. Atarka though. Huh? Now you get to play card draw. Resonance Technician. Repeatable counterspells on a creature have never been a problem in the past, right? If you're already playing a blue artifact deck, then this guy will probably help you get a free removal or counterspell off of your opponents once per round. Azorius. Judge's Familiar is pretty exciting because white doesn't get much access to good counterspells. Okay, this one maybe isn't all that good either, but if you can find a way to recur it in white decks, what's up Sun Titan, how's it going? Then you can actually play counterspells in your white decks. I'm sure this one will become an auto-include on par with Esper Sentinel in white decks that don't already include blue. Portal Manipulator. Okay, this isn't related to the topic at hand, but isn't this one of the cutest pieces of magic art you've ever seen? She's so smug and she knows she's the smartest person in the room, but she's being like kind of cute about it. Anyway, this kind of combat trick might replace Aetherize or Make a Stand in some existing decks. I am a huge fan of fogs or responses that work towards a win actively rather than just like setting one player back or using Teferi's Protection to press pause for a round. So I think this is a better include for me personally. Thoughtweft Gambit. Speaking of ending the game, this spell is on par with Craterhoof Behemoth in terms of combat-focused win conditions, but it doesn't currently see a ton of play. Less than 1% of decks listed on EDH Rec, in fact. I have a suspicion that blue-white decks just don't run enough creatures to take advantage of this card reliably. If you have the option to play this in a list like Jetmir or Adrix and Nev, it could be one of your better options for actually closing out. Orzhov. Dramatic Finale. I'm beginning to think I'm a little too creature token pilled to be objective in my judgments for this video. This probably doesn't make it into decks that have access to War Leader's Call, but if you're just running Intangible Virtue in your Go White deck, this is definitely also worth a slot. Push-pull. If you're running any kind of black deck or graveyard list, then you should see if this is worth it to you. You could find some great targets for the pull side, even though they only stick around for one turn. They get haste, they get to swing. 6 mana for reanimating 2 creatures is also kind of a decent rate for a sorcery, and you get the flexibility of using it as a removal spell if you draw it too early in the game. Inkling Summoning is kind of only here because I know there's some weird stuff with lessons going on in the Avatar set. It might become good in something if the color change rules go through. I don't know. Master Piando decks? Low and Lee players? Are we so hype for Inkling Summoning? Let's go! Pyrrhic Revival is another great one that is really good if you're doing a lot of self-mill in blacklists. Using this spell to follow up a big casting of old Stick Fingers or popping it late into the game in a CDC Brood Tyrant deck could easily turn it into a win. Thopter Foundry. I love this little guy because I love creature tokens. I also love Sword of the Meek. You see where this is going. I'm sure there's a lot of blue-white artifact decks that would love to play this combo and just can't. I have one of them. I'm excited to pop this into my Urza deck for no fucking reason. Okay, speculation for Lorwyn Eclipsed. Lorwyn Eclipsed hasn't had many spoilers quite yet, and each of the hybrid mana elementals that we've seen will not be affected by these changes whatsoever, since each of them still have singular color pips printed in the text box. However, hybrid mana was first introduced in the original Lorwyn block, and with the printing of so many hybrid cards in the Avatar set, I can only imagine that there will be plenty of spells that will be a lot more flexible than you might expect at first glance. I think that Avatar cards, like Abandon Attachments, were mostly here to get brand new players used to the idea so that it doesn't completely take them off guard when they try to implement this change next year. That's all for me though. What do you think? Are you excited to dig out some older cards from your bulk box? Has one of these hybrid cards been mocking you from the bin just because you can't find the perfect spot for it yet? Please let me know. If you like these videos and want to support me and help me make more of them, you can go to patreon.com/mtgratgirl, much like these people are all doing currently. As a bonus for signing up, I give you an extra video every single month. So you're doubling your MTG Rat Girl just for $5. They're usually things pertaining to my social life, other hobbies. This month, we're getting one about painting customs for a specific Universes Beyond deck. Check out the link in the description if that sounds good to you. If you want some custom tokens and customs of your own to bling out your commander list, then you can check out the other link to my shop in the description below, etsy.com/mtgratgirl. I hope we found you some fun new toys that you can play with next year, or now if you're just playing on a casual table that doesn't care about what the WotC Rules Committee says. Anyway, I hope you have a lot of fun digging through your old Lorwyn cards or waiting for some new ones. And as always, have a good evening. Bye-bye.